Tom mentioned, introduction of coaching staff. We have had some coaching changes over the course of the past year. In fact, today we just announced the hiring of our new defensive line coach. This is technically his first day on the job, Austin Schweigert. So Austin is back there. He'll coach the defensive line. With that, Coach Eric Schmidt will move from defensive line to inside linebackers and will also be our special teams coordinator. And that will fill the position that John Stager left when he left this summer. Also, Jim Jackson, Coach Jackson, has assumed the role of our recruiting coordinator. So he will be responsible for all of our recruiting business. Then we've added 2 graduate assistants. Our 2 grad assistants from last year have graduated and moved on, so that's good. But our defensive graduate assistant is Corey Warren, and Corey comes to us from Hutchinson Community College, where he coached the offensive line there. He'll be working with the outside backers here at SIU, but a little bit of his background: he played at Kansas State in 06 and 07, and an injury cut short his career, so he was a student coach at Kansas State for the 3 following years. So that's Coach Corey Warren. And then our offensive grad assistant and video technician is Zach Rudolph. And Zach comes to us from Minot State University, which is up in North Dakota. He played for his dad there, and Paul Rudolph, who's someone that has coached with Coach Hedberg and actually played for Coach Hedberg a long time ago, and I had the privilege to coach against him both as a player and as a coach, and Zach comes from very good bloodlines, so we're excited that Zach is joining us. And also new to the staff, he's not here today, is Cleet McLeod. Now Cleet joined us in December of last year. He's been working with the team all through the off season and through the summer program, and has just done an excellent job of preparing our team for the challenges of this upcoming year. So you'll be seeing Cleet at our practices, and feel free to visit with him any opportunity that you have. And something else that's new for the sideline, we're revealing a new helmet. So this is something that I don't know how much information is out there, or if this is news at all, or if this is brand new news. But prior to coming to SIU, I know there's always been discussions on designing a new helmet, and each year we would talk about it. Well, with Adam Bortz, our new equipment manager, who's also a new face that this year, he put together some designs, presented it to us, and one design in particular really jumped out at us, and we're going with it. So this will be the Saluki helmet for the season. So it's flat black would be the color, and we'll still have the maroon emphasis throughout the helmet. All right, now on to the team. And I'll just do a quick overview of how I see things, and then I'll introduce the coordinators, and they'll give you a little more specific rundown with their side of the ball. Theme for our off season was get better. That was something looking at our team after last season. We were in every game that we played, but for one reason or another, we were not capable of winning those games. And when you get right down to it, we needed to be better. We needed to be better both as players and coaches, and that's where we took a good hard look at where we were at, and we needed to do things to change that. And that was something that I think our off season has been productive. I think if you look at this team going into this fall, the components that you use to measure whether or not you get better, number one is experience. Well, this is going to be a pretty experienced football team. I think in the press guide, it's listed as we got 15 starters returning, which is, I'm comfortable with that number. But if you look at the overall number of players that actually have starting experience for us, that number's at 26. So we have a number of players that have played a lot of football for us. Some of them have just been one-game starters, but they've been in that role before. And so the experience factor was there. The other area that we need to get better, we felt we need to improve our overall talent. And that was something that both offensively, defensively, there were areas that we thought we could improve upon. And in that, you do that trying to go out and recruit some talented athletes that can come up and be impact players. Well, we've added 9 transfers to the program. Of those 9 transfers, 3 are from the junior college ranks, 6 are from the Division I transfer status. In fact, of those 6, 2 of them are graduate students. So, we're very excited to have those individuals in our program, and that too is something that we hope will be a difference maker on the course of the season. And then the third element that we looked at to get better was just our overall schemes. What we were doing offensively, defensively, with our special teams. Were we spending enough time working on the things that we needed to work on? And that was something that we addressed through spring ball. We made some changes here and there. I think I like the things that I've seen during the course of spring, and then we've been working on those through the course of summer to have everything ready to go this fall. So you will see some different wrinkles. Some of our schemes you might not even notice, but there'll be some twists here and there that I think will allow our players to have a better chance of having success. So that was how we went about the off season in our efforts to try to get better. With that, a couple areas that we thought that specifically needed to get better within the scheme concept offensively. You'll see some things with our red zone offense. That was something we've spent a lot of time. In fact, with pre-fall, we'll be doing our red zone installation in practice 3. So we're going to be hitting that very, very soon. Our third down production on offense was another area that we needed to improve upon. And a lot of that is what you do on first and second down. That'll help your third down percentage. But overall, we need to have a better third down conversion rate. And then number 3 is just explosive plays. We need to be able to have that potential to score anywhere on the field. And there's several ways that you can improve upon that. But overall, we just need to have a little more punch to our offensive attack. And then defensively, we also struggled with the red zone defense. And again, another reason why we're going to the red zone schemes early in installation. The second thing that we identified that is an area that we just think we need to be a lot better is pass defense. And we did get some transfers coming in over the course of the summer. We're adding 3 Division I transfers. that will be 2 at the safety position, 1 at the corner position. And we're hoping that talent-wise that will give us the type of skill in the secondary that'll allow us to be successful. And then the third thing that we really want to emphasize during pre-fall is just our tackling efficiencies. When we looked at our big plays against us film, the one thing that was very obvious is sometimes we had people at the point of attack and just didn't make the play. And that's something we need to do a better job of coaching our players to be more effective in their tackling, especially the open field tackle that can be the difference between success and failure.
Coach Lennon talked about the areas that we need to improve in. The red zone, explosive plays, and third down. And, that was a huge point of emphasis this spring, continue into the fall. I think the other area that we got to make sure we don't lose sight of is turnovers. Last year we felt we made great strides. We turned the ball over 17 times, and that's a little closer to the mark that you want to be at for a season. I think we can still be better, but in 7 games last year we had 1 or less turnovers. So we want to keep making strides. We don't want to lose sight of that because that can win or lose you a game pretty quickly. The other areas, that they're really not measurable. We just need to develop a personality, a mentality. with a little more aggressiveness to it. And that comes with confidence. That comes with guys playing together, feeling comfortable with what they're doing. And that's where we got to get to this fall. We got to get in fall camp. We got to get our first stringers ready to go, and develop that personality, mentality. The critical times, I think, is where we failed last year. Many times we were in those battles that Coach Lennon talked about, but we just failed to make that score. That could put us up and get us over the hump, or maybe we had that last drive of the game. I can think of a couple times during the season, the last drive of the game, where we had a chance to tie or win it, and we just we couldn't come through. And so, being great in the critical times in our conference, as you know, being as tough as it is, we get a lot of those opportunities. So that all falls into the mentality and personality kind of category. I don't want to dwell on the 2011 season too much, but coming back from last year, the reason we're excited is we got a lot of returners, especially in the skill positions. Last year we were returning a lot of offensive linemen. This year it's a little bit more in the skill positions. Really at the end of the year we were starting two freshmen, 2 sophomores, and 2 juniors at the skill positions. So all those guys return. Now obviously Jewel is not with us, but we have some quality running backs that will fill in nicely there. In the last 4 games, we've scored over 30 points a game, and we want to build on that. We felt like we had some momentum there, and obviously there's a few new faces going into the spring, but we need to build on that success that we had at the end. And a lot of that was, I think, Corey Faulkner, feeling comfortable. He got thrown in the fire there. I think, his first start was against the national champs, against NDSU. And that's not easy. The first 3 games, I think, were against some of the toughest teams in the conference. And so I think the way he finished showed that there's a lot of promise for him and his ability to lead our team. This year now, we're going to build on that. But I think, we're going to be built a little bit different because of it. Up front, offensive line-wise, we graduated a couple quality players, Brian Bomer, David Pickard. We have, a few guys that have some experience. Starting kind of with that position, Rich Wilson has been moved from right tackle to left tackle, and he's a quality player. It's probably been overlooked over the years, just because of how good Brian Bomer and David Pickard were. But he's a quality football player. He's going to anchor our left side, working across. The other guy with a lot of experience that started the season for us and ran into some injury midway through is Jesse McMullen. Big, strong guy. Will play right guard. For us last year, and we'll assume that position early in camp here. The other 2 guys that have a lot of experience through the last year or 2, Eric Bergman, who will be a center guard for us. He'll be a senior, and Tanner Crum, who ended up starting quite a few games for us the last half of the season as a true freshman. And so, hopefully you see a big improvement in him from year 1 to year 2. The other guys that are from within the program that are competing for spots are Corey Bomer. He's been playing a lot of guard, but we're going to also have him double up and play some tackle for us. And Clayton Melville, and those 2 guys are young guys that are coming up through our program. You look at them; they got some good size, and we just need to keep developing those guys. We brought in 3 new players from last year's team that you wouldn't know, and one of them is Nate Haremza. And he's been at left guard. He was one that came in here for spring ball. Pretty much played that position all through the spring. You look at him size-wise, and he's a good-looking player. Now it's just a matter of him picking up the schemes and picking up the familiarity with the guys that are next to him, and continue to develop. Victor Craven is going to be a guy that's at right tackle. He's a 6'5", 6'6", 310-pound, offensive tackle that's got the size. He's got the ability. Now it's just a matter of, getting him to fit in and learn everything as well. A lot like Nate. Josh Tenero is a guy we brought in here this summer. He's a center and a guard, and he'll kind of be that dual position player that we need up front in the offensive line. So we really have 9 guys that are going to be competing for the 5 spots. There's some youth in there. There's some guys with some experience, and we just need to bring that all together there at the offensive line. The running back position is still a position that we feel is a strength for us. Steve Struther and Muku Koloko returned for their senior year. Very versatile running backs, both of them are. Guys that we continue to try to figure out how to get the ball in their hands in space. I think that's an area of focus from the offensive staff each and every day when we're meeting. And then we picked up Mikhail McCall, from the University of Iowa here, and he was with us this spring as well. And we're excited about what he brings to the table. Much bigger back, comes probably more of a pro style type guy. But I think he's very versatile in what he can do too. He has some good speed for his size. There's no question about that. The tight end position and fullbacks. Michael Pruitt was a freshman last year. By the end of the season, he was our go-to guy, and he developed, and we kind of pushed him along throughout the year. We have big expectations for him in a lot of different ways, as a blocker, as a receiver, as a leader, and we just need to really have him step up right away now that he's got that year under his belt. Dalton Morgan and Adam Feeney are two tight ends that they're also very good. Adam's a little younger and progressing and developing, but he's a 6'7" player that stands out when you walk on the football field. He's got good hands, and Dalton, I think the big thing with him is just staying healthy, and he's going to be a huge plus for us. He can be a very good player, very multi-dimensional as well. So at fullback, Ray Agnew and Rick Hicks bring a lot of experience to our fullback position. I think they're both very physical. They run well. They're pretty quick, but they can do the things that you need a fullback to do. I think the thing with our group right now is we're trying to get our tight ends and fullbacks to be able to play kind of both positions. We don't have a lot of numbers there, but slowly, you see like Rick Hicks, he's become a very good fullback, and now he's taking more reps at tight end. You see some of our tight ends moving around and motion in the backfield, kind of like you'd see a fullback do. And so those guys, as they've learned the system, as they've learned the techniques, you see them doing more things within the offense. The wide receiver position, last year, I guess with these skill guys as a whole, I think we counted that we had 20 to 22 receptions. I think it was 22 receptions returning from the running backs, tight ends, receivers. This year, I think we're about 125 to 130. And so you kind of go to bed at night feeling a little more comfortable about the experience that returns there, because there were some rough times. We made some plays, but just the consistency, wasn't there week in and week out. And we feel, the explosive plays need to become, a bigger part of what we do, mainly because we have more experience. And those guys are good athletes, along with our tight ends and running backs. Stephen McKinney, a year ago, we moved him to receiver. You think about all the snaps he's taken now going into his sophomore year as a receiver, 400 this spring. We have some high expectations, and we're trying to find ways to get him the ball in space, because he still is got a lot of that running back ability, making guys miss. But he's committed himself to being a receiver. And we're certainly seeing the strides that he's made there. He's a sophomore. John Lance is going to be a junior, and David Lewis will be a senior. And those three guys were players that were on the field quite a bit for us a year ago, and they all return. Luke Staniford and Carl Harris are also seniors that return, that are certainly competing, at that wide receiver position, have been around in the program for a while now. Quarterback, we'll save the position you probably really care about the most for last year. Corey, once he kind of got into the season, the swing of things last year, really established himself and he showed what his abilities were. I think the big thing with him is just consistency. In the last 5 games of the year last year, he had 3 games that he was over 73% completion percentage, but he had 2 that he was about in that 44 to 43%. And so we just got to get some consistency from him. Of course, that's everyone around him too. playing better and playing more consistent. But I think that's where you've seen the strides now. Through having a full spring and now a summer here, working with his guys. He's dual threat. I love that. A guy can, not necessarily that he has to run the ball. You got to call running plays for him, but when protection breaks down, he can get outside and pick up those first downs with his legs. And then, I think he's a very accurate passer. A.J. Hill and Paul McIntosh, as a group along with Corey, I think you're talking about three guys that are very good leaders. And that guys should want to follow. If they aren't, they need to, because they're all hardworking guys that care about the team. The team's first in all three of these guys' minds. And, of course, they're all competing and they all want to be out on the field. But I've just been really impressed with how they've taken control of things here over the last, 6-7 months, especially as, the summer workouts and things like that. So with that, is there any questions you have concerning the offense?
I was curious about Corey. I know he had that knee surgery, and so just how much confidence you have in his knee. I know I talked to him a couple of weeks ago. He said everything was feeling good, and he was actually ahead of schedule on the recovery. Yeah,
I think you're always concerned, because his price conditioning, isn't probably where it needs to be, but he's full go from what we, understand. And we expect him to pick right up where he left off this spring. And I think he's had enough time this summer to still shake off the rust and hopefully come into camp, feeling good about things. Yeah.
Kalen, do you think you can be successful with a tight end leading you in receptions, or do you need a wide receiver to emerge as kind of a bigger threat than you had?
Yeah, we need a receiver preferably a guy on the other side that can keep defenses from being able to focus on your tight end. There's no question. We need to have more balance. As far as I'm concerned, you need 5 guys. You need a guy at every skill position if you want to be an elite offense that can be a threat, to make a big play. And so we certainly need these receivers and the running backs to step up and play bigger roles than we did a year ago.
How important is it to develop a running back that can be a difference maker as far as quarterback is concerned? It seems to me if you have somebody that's a threat from the running back to go all the way, then that will help Corey.
Yeah, it works. It's does the run set up the pass or the pass set up the run? And I know last year we were definitely a run set up the pass type of team. We were going to pound away and try to get us in a third and manageable, down a distance. But there might be a little bit more of the balance this year. Where our experience with the receiving core and our tight ends, helps our younger offensive line out, and we spread things out. We try to mix it up and get the ball to the running backs and out and swing passes or whatever it may be, screens, and just try to be more balanced that way. Run to pass as far as who's getting the ball. I think the balance is the key.
Has McCall recovered pretty well? I know he had some leg problems a long time ago. And you didn't run him as much probably in the spring. We were recovered.
Sure, we were conscious of that, but he looked pretty good this spring. I think he has some pretty good speed for how big he is. I think that's the thing that's impressive. Yeah.
Has Paul recovered well enough to participate in training camp, you think?
I think that's I don't want to get into it too much, but I think that's the concern with Paul, is just having him healthy. And I know right away we're not expecting him to be able to go too much here through fall camp. So that's a concern from Paul's end, and that's where AJ's kind of seen that, I think, throughout the summer, and really stepped up his role as a leader, especially even with Corey being out for the early part of the summer.
Do you feel like you guys have found that big play threat?
I think everyone's got to pick up the pieces a little bit more. I think David Lewis gives us an X receiver, with his size and where you can throw the ball up to him to the field usually, and he can go up and make some plays. I think Stephen McKinney this spring really showed what he can do when he gets the ball in his hands. And he only had 15, 20 catches last year. I think it was 16 catches, and we got to have that tripled, for him, just because when he gets the ball in his hands, he's a guy that could go the distance, much like we're talking about what we'd like to have out of our running backs.
Do Corey last year, he had more rushing touchdowns than through the air. Do you anticipate those numbers being reversed this year?
Yeah, we need it to be. That's the big thing, I think, with red zone that we've worked on. It's not the running part of it. We were pretty good running the football into the end zone. It was the passing part. The pass efficiency for our offense was very low last year, but that number's reflected because of the lack of touchdown passes. And so we need to find ways when we get inside that 30-yard line to be able to throw it into the end zone, not just rely on running it all the time, because it's tight quarters down in there, and defenses they change things up and bear down.
Do you think you have a running back? Jules, a unique situation. You just carried 20 and 25, and do you think you have a running back that can do that this year? And do you think Steve can take that kind of?
I think we got two seniors that should be physically developed enough to one way or another handle the load for us. And then Mikael, I think you physically look at him and you're like, okay, that's a guy that could be an every down back for us. And so between the three of them, I think it's an important thing for us is to make sure we utilize their skills. I think we need to be understand as an offense that we got to be based on our strengths. What are the players' strengths, and continue to find ways, try to be creative to get those guys opportunities, and especially opportunities that they feel comfortable with.
How do you like the progress of the tempo offense?
It's coming along. I think it's something that you got to really sell out to, and I think we've made quite a few adjustments in our terminology to get it to the point to where we can do it. Our summer, the guys, I think they've really tried to mimic it a little bit on their own. Hopefully that's been successful. We don't get the chance to see that, but I think going in day one, we're expecting it to be just continued from where we left off in the spring. And you want to find ways to keep defenses on their toes and kind of wondering what you're going to do next. Are you going to motion shift? Are you going to tempo? We had some of those tempo elements in our offense at certain points of the field, but we just want to really make it to where we can do it at any time with any personnel.
Thanks everybody for being here today. Just address the defense and some of the concerns we had a year ago, I guess, that Coach Lennon mentioned. The first thing is tackling. In order to play good defense, you just have to tackle well. And I think, how do you get better at that? You got to practice it. And I think you got to create those situations in practice. And we attempted to do that in the spring, made some progress, but by no means are we where we want to be yet. And we still got to be cognizant of that fact and work on it in our fall camp here. And we just need that to be better when we get to our first game and throughout the season. I think another thing that helps you tackle better is just knowing your defensive system better, and you're confident out there and you're in the right positions and you put yourself in position to make those plays. So those things are important to us, and will continue to be an emphasis as far as just spending more time on it, drilling it more, and all those things. We just have to do that to improve on defense. The pass defense, we plain old got to be better. I think the way we approach things, though, we still got to stop the run in that. And the way we do play defense, we've done a pretty good job of that. And sometimes we're going to be a little bit lower in the league in pass defense. When you do that, our main concern needs to be the explosive pass plays. Because if you load up at times to stop the run and force teams to throw the football, you're going to give up some pass plays. But you can't give up those huge plays, and that has to be a point of emphasis, that we make people drive the football. You give up those big plays, less chance for turnovers, less chance for the offense to make penalties and kind of hurt themselves. So the big plays are also part of that. Red zone, I think Coach DeBoer, Coach Lennon both mentioned we're practicing more in the red zone. Believe me, we're looking at what we're calling in the red zone, how we're scheming in the red zone. All those things have to be factors because you want to force field goals when people get down there. I think not only does it keep points off the board, you gain momentum. If somebody gets down there and doesn't score a touchdown, it really can boost your team. You got an opportunity to block a kick, poor snap, all those things. So those things just have to improve. I'm going to go on to personnel on our defense. I'll start up front. Our top returners up front on defense at the nose, Keon Swanson. Returns for us will be a senior. Ken Boatwright, be a second year starting. At the defensive end, Ezo Obiora is number 1 on the depth chart after spring ball. And then our top D-end backup would be Blake Miller, at this time a sophomore that played some last year. Those are the guys with the most playing experience. And in our situation right now, we need to develop some depth at the nose and also find that swing guy who can play a little bit of defensive end and give us some snaps at nose. Outside backer, Jason DeMonch will be a senior. Returns our most experienced guy there. Hopefully we can keep him healthy for a year. Last year, that was a little bit of an issue late in the year, his health, and we need him out there. He's a big play guy for us and needs to make those big plays for us. Corey Lee is at the number 1 position at the other outside linebacker position. He gained some valuable playing experience a year ago, and our top backups would be Tyler Williamson, who was with us in the spring, who transferred from junior college. He's a sophomore. And Kevin Reed will be with us for a second year at outside backer. Inside linebacker position, Joe Ocon is our top returner, brings a lot of experience, and he's one of the leaders on our defense. And he'll play the weak inside linebacker position, and I think you're pretty familiar with him. And Brian Presame is slated to start at the other inside backer position. He did play some last year. I think you'll notice with him, just a different player than he was a year ago. It's always tough, those guys that transfer in. It seems like they need some time to learn the system, and he's in much better shape and better physically than he was a year ago. And then Talon Hunter also returns with some playing experience as one of our top backups. Go on to the secondary corner position. Our top returner is Terrell Wilson, and Courtney Richmond also returns with some playing experience. Obviously, when you want to pick up your pass defense, you're going to challenge those guys to get better and better. And then we did mention we do have one transfer at the corner position that was with us this summer. Haven't worked a day with him yet, but we're happy with the reports we get from Coach Cleet in the weight room and his effort and all that. Emmanuel Soren from Florida International. We got to see what he can do once we get to fall camp. As we get to the safeties, I will mention that this is the position that we return the least amount of experience. So we got to, work on this hard in fall camp. And the player that would have the most experience returning is suspended for the season. Boo Rogers, a violation of team rules, will not play for us this year. So our top player with playing experience coming back is Luke Thuston. Good special teams player for us in the past. I think you saw him a lot 2 years ago as a safety and capable of making big plays and all that, but he's our player with the most experience. After that, we really don't have anybody that played safety for us. DJ Cameron came out of spring ball. He's a freshman. At the number 1 safety, Dante Lewis was coming off an injury. He's in the mix there. And David Boatwright has been moved from corner to safety to give him an opportunity there. And then we do have 2 transfers that will be with us fall camp. Haven't worked with them a day. So hopefully that we can create a competitive environment there and find the right guys that can learn our system, fit into what we're trying to do. And all these transfer stuff is great, but they got to fit into what you're trying to do and be good teammates and all that, and we're going to work hard on that in fall camp. Any questions about the defense?
With the secondary being the big question mark, what gives you confidence about the group? I know you don't know all of them yet.
Well, I liked our effort in the spring. I thought, not just out on the practice field, but I liked our effort in meeting rooms, and the want to was really there. And that's part of the battle. And the one thing about guys that haven't played a lot, they have an excitement and anticipation about them that can be very good. And nobody's in a comfort zone back there, and they can't be, because we got a lot of competition, and all the positions and the playing time will be decided what we do in fall camp. As far as the transfers, you like what you see on tape, it gets you excited, but until you actually work with them, you don't know what you have. But they're bigger, more athletic guys, and we think that they can help us.
What's most important to you, Bubba, when you're evaluating the safeties? Is it athleticism? Is it ability to break up the pass? Or what do you look at is most important to you when you're looking at playing time for your safeties?
Well, first of all, athleticism is very important. You're playing in space, and these are the guys that really have to save you from the big plays, whether it's through the air or even run plays. We talk about tackling being a concern for us and a point of emphasis. You got to be able to tackle in space, so you better be a good athlete. And the way football is played nowadays, you watch what we do offensively, and most teams do now. They try to create that space for their best players, so you got to be able to tackle them one-on-one. Really, any defensive scheme you have, we have a little saying we talk to our guys about: one-on-one is the best we can do. We can get you in a situation that you're one-on-one. That's the best we can do, and you got to make the play. So, sure, we'd like them as big and as fast as we can get them, but we will never sacrifice size in the secondary for speed or agility or quickness. We got to play the guys that can cover the ground and play well in space.
With Kenny and Ezra kind of having a year under their belt with their positions now, how much more disruptive do you feel like they can be this year?
Well, I think we hope they get better. Part of it's a little bit how we scheme against other teams and whether we can hold up in the back row. If you look at, we didn't run as many pressures as we did later in the season last year, just because we were not holding up in the back end as well as we'd like. So a lot that determines how we do in the secondary, I think. But one-on-one, they should be better. We work hard on it, and I think we're happy with Coach Schweigert being back with us. He worked with our defensive line in the past, and we're going to challenge those guys in one-on-one situations. They got to win that battle.
Victor Burnett wasn't in spring very much. Will he be ready to roll?
Yeah, he's ready. He's fully recovered. But once again, we haven't worked a day with Victor. We like his talent and like what we saw on video, but we really have not worked with him at all yet.
What makes you think you could be better in red zone defense?
We can't get much worse. That's one thing. But other than that, we got to play better. We're going to practice it. We got to execute our calls. That's what you have to do. You got to practice it. You got to execute our calls. But we were not very good a year ago. We didn't force field goals when we got in those situations. So it's a point of emphasis, and you just got to keep working on it and plug away at it. And I think part of it, when you do experience some confidence and make some stops, that helps you in executing your stuff before. But that's what you got to do. You got to practice it. You got to look at where you're calling and prepare and do the best you can.
And what can you tell me about the backup nose tackles, Beelan and Campbell? Can you tell me anything about them? Are they both true freshmen or redshirt?
Yeah, they're true freshmen. TJ Beelan has a lot of talent. We think that he can play as a true freshman just physically. But once again, we got to get out there and work with him and teach him, and it's important to see how he develops. Ryan Campbell, same way. I think we're happy with what we see and what we got talent-wise, but we got to develop it and get him out there and get him ready to go.
Would you? I know Swanson is your starter. If there's some problem with him a game, would you rather go with Beelan as nose tackle, or go back to what you were doing in the spring with the three defensive ends playing there and moving a guy over?
That all depends on how TJ Beelan looks in fall camp.
Okay.
We'll evaluate that in fall camp.
Is Keon's ankle, is it 100%?
Yeah, he's moving well, and we expect him to be 100%. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Coach Lennon. Thank everybody for being here today. Be real brief with our special teams. First of all, things that we like. I think when you look at our team last year, we were at or near the top of our league in returns, whether it was punt returns or kickoff returns. I think we had 9 kickoff returns for over 40 yards. Those are big plays for us. So we return all of our return specialists. Steve Struther, Muku, Stephen McKinney, those are guys that are have proven that they can be big play guys for us. So we're excited about those guys. Plus we have some younger guys I think that are coming in that we've recruited that were redshirt last year or as true freshmen that we think can be dynamic type return guys for us. So that's something that we're excited about here moving forward. It's where a lot of the experience comes back in our special teams. Next thing that we're excited about, our punt team improved last year from the year before. We put a new scheme in. It was good for us. Austin Puchalowski got better. He had a year underneath his belt. He matured. We expect him to even get better here this fall as we move forward. But we feel like we have a bigger group of guys, both in our coverage units and in on our blocking schemes, a bigger group of guys to pick from now, as we've Coach talked about it. Try to increase the talent of our team, especially when you start talking about linebackers and safeties and wide receivers. Those are all guys that have to help you on special teams as well. So those are things that we feel here moving into fall. Moving into fall should be strengths for us. We can kind of pick up where we left off and try to use those guys to be able to help us in close games. Concerns that we have, number one thing is our kicker. We feel like we need to get better in both phases. What I mean by that is, we need a guy that can increase his range and his accuracy. Plus, we got to have a guy that can put the ball in the end zone, especially with the new rule that goes into effect this fall. So that'll be a big evaluation for us fall. There's a lot of competition. Obviously, Jackson did the majority of the kicking for us last year. We talk about field goals and extra points. Chris Adams did the kickoff specialist, I guess if you would call it. Did all the kickoff duties for us. And then we bring Austin Johnson into that. We feel like he's a pretty talented kid that those guys will definitely be battling out here in the fall, and it's a point of emphasis for us. We need to get better at that position. And then we also feel like, we talk a lot about what Coach talked about, that we were in a lot of close games last year. We need to make momentum swinging plays on special teams. I think that can be the difference for us. We had one block kick, I think, last year. We need to create turnovers, that type of thing. So that'll be the emphasis moving into fall. We need to do a good job once again with our competitive drills of evaluating guys. We'll have some new guys that will be in their first eligibility here this fall, as far as with the Salukis, and I think we have a bigger pool of talent there, especially special teams talent, guys that can run down the field and make an open field tackle or make an open field block. So we're excited about that. But questions that you guys have?
How much do you think the new rules are going to limit your opportunities in the kickoff return game?
We're concerned about it. I think it'll be less. That was a big part for us last year. Like I said, we had 9 returns for over 40 yards last year. I think Steve Struther was a all-conference guy for us. Steve McKinney was really dynamic on punt returns as well. So you're definitely, and with the you take a knee now, you get it at the 25. So you catch the ball 2 yards deep. You got to go 27 yards just to get out to where they're going to give you the ball. So it'll be a little bit different. It'll be interesting to see. Just how many less kickoff returns we have, but I definitely think it'll change that part of the game.
Struther averaged almost 27. Will you still let him take him out, try to get those extra 2 yards?
We've talked about it. I think there's, our base rule, Todd, is that if you're 2 yards deep in the end zone, take a knee on it. But I think you adjust those rules the better player you have back there. So we'll have some leeway there for Steve and also for Muku. Muku didn't have as many opportunities, but he made some big plays as well back there. Returning the kick for us.
Now, also punt return, you can't jump over a player, I guess, this year. Does that improve how do you do that punt rush? How do you adjust your punt rush that way?
That really doesn't affect us as much. There's not as many leapers, guys trying to jump a shield that there has been in the past. I think there was probably one team that tried to do that to us this year. We're not a big jump team as far as trying to jump over the top of the shield. Most people have learned now the shield punt has kind of evolved now where you don't have the punter as close to the shield back there, so it's harder to do that. So That's not as probably as big of a rule as obviously the kickoff rule. The halo rule, that type of stuff now becomes a little bit more of a factor in games than the leaping rule over a shield would. Thanks.
Thank you, Eric. And just kind of wrap things up, and I'll open up to any general questions. I hope when you talk to the players, I hope when you listen to the coaches talk, you recognize that we do have an edge. It's one of those where we know we got to get better. That's been our approach all off season, going through the summer. We aren't satisfied with where we're at. There's things that we can do that'll allow us the opportunity to get better, but the bottom line is doing it in the ball game. So, that's where our approach going into pre-fall. We're cautiously optimistic. We feel we have the potential to be the type of team that we think we can, but until we prove it, that'll all be up for speculation. So, that's the objective in front of us right now is we got to prove that we're better than 7th in the conference. Questions?
I guess I'll go first, Dale. I'd love to see you go 11-0 or whatever it is, but do you think if you go 7-4, do you think 7 wins with the strength of the league would be good enough to get you in the playoffs? That's
speculation. That it's just this time of year, it's tough to go on. They're expanding, but 7-4 wasn't good enough for Illinois State to get in. But then again, it depends on who you win, who you beat, and who you lose to. So, that's 7-4 could be pretty impressive if you win the right games. But, it's just speculation right now.
You put a lot of emphasis in the offseason on doing the little things right and with the players. And how do you feel like the team embodies that right now?
Again, mentally, a positive resource for us has been Coach McLeod. He spends every day with them. Us as coaches, we can't, we're very limited in our contact that we can have with the team. So, but all the reports that I've received, the players stopping in to visit, the feedback I'm getting is very encouraging. I think our players are realistic. I think our players are at a point where they want to step up and prove something. So, and that's the attitude that you can hang your hat on. So that's what we'll have that attitude going through pre-fall, and hopefully it sustains.
Do you feel like this team is more vocal leaders? I mean, from what I'm hearing from a lot of the guys, they're kind of, some of them are getting really vocal about this is how it's going to be.
Vocal's not the right word. We have players now that'll get in each other's face. That's a whole different thing. It's one thing to be a rah-rah, let's go get them type, but it's another thing to be that guy that's going to get in your teammate's face and tell you, hey, you're not doing your load here, pick it up. So that's what we need within the team. We need guys that aren't afraid to get in their teammate's face and tell them to pick it up. And from what I've been hearing, I've been pleased with what I've heard.
How would you compare the front 7 you got this year to some you had in the past?
Always tough until they perform. I like the potential. I look at the 3 guys up front, very athletic. And the thing too, my philosophy with development of players, experience is huge. The amount of improvement that you should have from one year to the next should be pretty significant. You should be a better player just because you are a senior, just because you have a couple years of playing under your belt. So therefore, I'm hoping we're going to be seeing the benefit of that, especially with the front 7, where you're looking at a pretty senior-dominated group with that unit. So, and with what Coach Schweigert can do with our defensive schemes, we shore up the secondary like we hope we can. That front 7 is going to be fun to watch.
What do you like about how your schedule sets up this year?
Every schedule's challenging. I like the fact that we have our 3 non-conference games right in a row at the very beginning, so it doesn't really break up your schedule. I like having a very challenging first game, which we will have against Eastern Illinois. Your division up game that you play, you want to feel good about your chances going into that game, and we'll know more after our Eastern Illinois game where we're at, but I think we're going to have an opportunity there, and then coming home finally with Southeast Missouri, I'm just hoping that we can have that positive start on the season to really make us feel good about who we are, and then we get in for the conference schedule, which this conference is amazing right now from 1 to 10. I mean, you seriously could have any one of the 10 teams be a contender. It's that legitimate within the league, and South Dakota coming in, they're good. They're going to win games. They're going to give teams issues. So the league's just gotten tougher.
Do you like where your bye week is?
Well, you never know if you like it or not until now. If we're on a roll, I love it. If we're playing good and we're right in the stretch, we're in the hunt, we got the perfect spot for the bye. If we're banged up, well, you'd kind of like to have that bye that next week, whenever that would be. But for right now, I'd rather get on a roll and keep playing for a while. So it's not a bad bye.
How much preparation can you actually do now without the season started for all those teams? Or do you just have to wait until you get game tapes from this year to prepare for them?
Well, we've been doing that through the summer. Offensively, defensively, you come up any morning, any afternoon, our staff is in their rooms, they're watching last year's films, they're doing their game plans, they're evaluating personnel, so we have a feel for what they're capable of doing. But when the season hits, you almost have to throw a lot of that stuff out because things change and players get hurt and circumstance happens, and therefore you got to be ready to adapt. But you have your initial game plan, then you get to game week, then you kind of modify it and hopefully have it good to go by Saturday.
The seniors this year had so much success in the front half of their career. What does it mean to them now that they've had some adversity?
Well, I think too that's where that edge should be present, and just not settling for anything less than their full commitment, and that's what I'm looking for from that senior group that we brought in with our first recruiting class. They've been through a lot of ups and downs. A lot of them have been through a lot of personal trials and tribulations just to get here. So I'm hoping that this year is very special to them and that they want to make something of it.
What makes you think your red zone offense could be better this year?
Can I use Coach Schweigert's line? No, what you need with the red zone offense, you just have to, confidence. It's confidence. And that's the one thing that I think if you go on our offensive, hang out in the offensive huddle, you can see, are we a confident team or are we kind of hoping? And from what I saw in the spring, that confidence factor can be there. Our quarterback has to be cocky. We get into the red zone, there has to be an attitude, we're scoring, we're in. There can be no doubt in his mind that they're not going to score. And same thing with defense. Defense, all you need, we could have been a very good red zone defense if we get, let's say we get 2 turnovers. Force 2 turnovers in the red zone. All of a sudden now you're not a bad red zone defense. So there's just a fine line between success and failure, and those are the things that we got to be able to capitalize on. And when you're inside the 20, you got to put points on the board. Offensively, we missed 4 field goals inside the red zone. You got to put points on the board. You put points on the board, it's a whole different game plan now going down into the fourth quarter on what you need to do and have to do. So all that will be part of the process.
Now, just what's the benefit moving Wilson from right to left? What's the biggest benefit there?
He's our best tackle. He's our best guy. Protect the blind side of the. You ever see that movie? Yeah. But that's the big reason there, just to make sure that the throwing arm is, is that he doesn't have somebody coming off his backside.